I think Starbucks is probably the most useful for me as a founder. There's a few good sites out there, like thefunded.com. That was really helpful. I like that site a lot. I met a day at Rusty too. One day it was great. But also, making sure that you have good advisors. I have a great advisory group. Basically, a lot of people that I've worked with before at other companies, people that were my bosses. I got them to be my advisors. People that I respected, quite a bit, not just for what they've accomplished, but also them as people and maybe what's important to them. And having a really strong advisory group, people you can go to in different subject matters, be it finance or sales, that's been really helpful. And I think that's really critical when you're doing a startup, especially. As a founder, you're not supposed to know everything. A lot of people will think they do, but you don't. And I think a lot of times, the startup, kind of the journey is very humbling. I think that's been an important part of me personally, is that, you need to admit what you don't know and get someone in there that can fulfill that. You start actually focusing not so much what's in your best interest, but what's in the best interest of the company. And especially when you have employees, they're putting a lot on the line for this as well. They left good jobs to come work for this for this company, and so I need to make sure that we stay on course and we deliver, and we make everyone here an owner too. That's a critical piece. So. Yes. Well, I think we pioneered, like a lot of working companies, we pioneered our space, really. We're the first company to actually launch tracking for remote media devices. We pioneered the mobile security space as well. One of the first companies to offer a product for a smartphone, even before there was any app stores, where we were creating this software. So an issue we have now is seeing, with our success, we're also seeing a lot of people that are copying us, what we're doing, and how we deal with that. One company in particular has a significant amount of funding. I couldn't believe how much money they got, and they only have it for one platform. So, especially in technology, being in Portland is really, really tough when you're competing with people in the Bay Area that have a significant amount of funding. The nice thing is we have really talented people here. We're a little more sustainable. When we look at how we're going to launch a product, we don't just, we got $16 million in the bank, we can just launch a free product and go after it. We need to focus more on so these guys have this huge market here. Is there somewhere we can go with a particular niche or a particular focus? Is there something that our customers are telling us that we can modify the product and go after that? So that's kind of what we're dealing with now. And I think we've nailed it. We have some really great features in our new product that it's going to take a while for this competitor that has a lot of money to pick up. Plus we have patents filed. So, but I think that's really tough. Every single time I talk to a VC, the first question we get asked: would you move to the Bay Area? And for me, that's just nice talking to you. This is our home. This is where we started. This is where we want to stay. Sometimes it's harder than. I've been tempted at times, gosh, if we were in the Bay Area, I'd probably be in my third company by now. But I think it's, this is my home. It's really important to me to succeed in Portland, because I want to make sure that if we do have a successful exit, then we can go out and start other companies. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs here in Portland, you'll see a lot of issues with getting C-level talent here. They all go to the Bay Area or Seattle. They don't really tend to stay here. Not only that, they also take their money. So a lot of the angel funding, a lot of the mentoring resources, they leave the state. So if I'm successful, I want to make sure that we stay here, and we help grow Oregon, not just our business. So. I'm nuts. No, I think, I think it's about building something bigger than yourself. And I think that's the key. I had issues working in companies. I was always wanted to do things my own way, and I was miserable a lot of times. And I think I finally figured out what the problem was. I'm an entrepreneur, and I think that's what's kind of driving me now, is that I always keep new ideas, new strategies, things like that. I love it. Every time we launch a new product, we get a recovery. That's what keeps me going. I mean, the fact that we've been cracking large theft rings, we're getting devices back for people that had their houses burglarized. That's great. Our customers love our product. That kind of stuff keeps me going. It's even when things get bad or rough, that's what I focus on. And just building something. Every time you have a product launch and doing something that no one's ever done before, that's amazing to me. Well, every time we launch a product now, especially now we have other people involved, we're doing things that people told me weren't possible, and I think that means a lot to me. So. Well, our advisors, and that's one thing I did is I brought people that I respect, not just for what they've accomplished, but also how they accomplished it, doing things in an ethical way, doing things the right way. I think that's what drives me, it's hard to say it's a single person. There's a lot of people in Starbucks that inspire me as well, like Josh Friedman, John Freeze, those guys, been really helpful to me. Scott Kavieton, he'd be interesting. A guy, he's got urban airship and he's getting significant funding. I think it'd be interesting to see how he did it. He didn't go through your traditional channels here in Oregon, kind of like we did. So I think it'd be really interesting to kind of hear his story and his background. So. We've been doing theft recovery. That's another thing too, is that not only have we kind of gotten bloody with our customers, we've also been working directly with law enforcement, as you can imagine. With our software, we can track a device, we get photos, that sort of thing. It's a very new technology, and working with law enforcement can be a challenge. We've had a number of cases where our software has actually allowed law enforcement sort of a window into sort of the underworld. We've seen things that it's not just about laptop getting stolen. That device gets sold, and there's a huge market for stolen property. So the sort of this black market. I'll give you two stories. One recovery we had, a laptop was stolen here in Portland from someone's house, and he activated tracking. We didn't hear anything for a number of weeks. I was getting concerned. I'm like, why isn't our software working? What's going on here? Sure enough, we started getting connections. The laptop was showing up in Missouri. I couldn't figure out why is this, something's wrong with our software. Something's got to be wrong. So I started going back, I started looking at the location stuff. And no, it's in Missouri. And we tracked this guy. He went to a hotel. We saw photos of the guy, all these different photos. He was at a car dealership. And then he even changed the name on the system, so we got his full name. We found his MySpace profile. We got his, he had a photo of him with his car, so we got his license plate number. So we had all this information, right? Just this stack of information. And we gave that to the district attorney, and they had enough. They had said even if they can't recover the laptop, this is enough evidence to get it for stolen property. Sure enough, they brought the guy in. He actually sold the laptop twice. It actually got sold to one of his friends, along with a bike and some other stuff. So we actually traced this laptop. That it's just crazy. What happened was it got stolen in Portland by a meth head, right? And then it got sold to this sort of it's an organized crime syndicate basically here in Portland. And what they're doing is they then take all this stolen equipment, they load it into a truck, and then they ship it down to Missouri. And then they take the stolen property in Missouri, load it in a truck, ship it up to Portland, right? First thing you do when your laptop gets stolen is you're checking Craigslist, right? So these guys got smart to that. Let's just move it to a totally different area, ship this stuff over here, no one's ever going to catch us. So our software actually kind of unveiled this interesting theft ring. We were able to provide enough evidence to the district attorney to get this guy for possession of stolen equipment. and that's one of our recoveries. We started getting a lot of interest from law enforcement, like FBI, that sort of thing. We've been meeting with them, to talk about our technology because they're going to run into a lot more. And then another one that was here in Portland, Southeast Portland schools were getting robbed. There was a bunch of break-ins where a number of laptops were getting stolen, and a lot of times it would be repeated. And one of the schools got smart and actually bought our software. They became our customer. They installed our software on a number of laptops that were in their school on Macs. Within a week, the school got broken into again, and this time our software was on that device. This one I got personally involved with. We actually tracked the laptop all the way to Vancouver, Washington. We got a photo of the guy. So I actually went out there. I wanted to make sure that some of the information we were gathering from the Wi-Fi signals was accurate. And as I was out there, out walks this guy out of his house. It's the guy we have a photo of. And I'm sitting there in my car. I have all kinds of electronic equipment in my car. I'm I'm scanning the Wi-Fi networks. I'm gathering all this data, and I'm on the phone. And this guy comes out, and I was like, he made eye contact with me, and I was just like, I'm gonna die because this was not a nice group of people that we were dealing with. So I called the detectives working on the case, and they came out there. They got some more information. But the funny thing is this guy, he had no idea our software was on this laptop, and they actually told him that they didn't tell him about it. They said, we know this information, we know you have this laptop, we know where it came from. And he was like, how the heck did you guys find me? And basically he thought that his other buddies were turning him in. And so they started to bring all these other guys in, and they all thought that they all turned on each other. And so they were able to sort of unveil this really large theft ring as a result of our software. They had no idea that it was us. So.